For 2,000 years, the world has looked west. We've watched the rise and fall of Rome, the British Empire, and the American superpower. But while the West was busy building its world, an ancient barrier was standing guard in the desert, a river that has dictated the borders of prophecy since the Garden of Eden, the Euphrates. Today it is vanishing. But as the water retreats, it isn't just revealing old ruins, it is clearing a path. The book of Revelation calls it the way of the kings of the East. But who are these kings? And why, for the first time in human history, is the global center of gravity shifting back toward the rising sun? We are witnessing a geopolitical alignment that defies every rule of modern diplomacy. Two nations, home to nearly half of the human race, are moving in a synchronized dance toward the very river John saw in his vision. Tonight, we ask the questions the mainstream media refuses to touch. Firstly, is it possible that the greatest threat to the Western world was written in a scroll 2 millennia ago, and we are only now seeing its face? Secondly, if the ancient barrier is gone, what or who is standing in the way of the final conflict? Third, and most importantly, if the river is dry, how much time do we actually have left? The mystery of the kings of the East has baffled scholars for centuries. But as we stand here in 2026, the fog is lifting. One power stands above all others, a nation that has transformed itself from an agrarian backwater into the world's undisputed industrial furnace. You know its name. You see its label on every product in your home. But do you see its role in the end of days? Could it be China? In 2026, the People's Republic of China is no longer just a rising power. It has arrived. With an active military of over 2 million soldiers and a maritime militia that dominates the Pacific, its physical might is undeniable. But the Bible speaks of something far more terrifying. Revelation 9:16 gives a specific number, 200 million. For 2,000 years, this was dismissed as hyperbole. But in a nation of 1.4 billion people, a total mobilization of 200 million is no longer a myth. It is a mathematical possibility. John described a force that would prepare the way. Look at China's Belt and Road Initiative. In 2025 alone, China poured $213 billion into construction contracts across 150 countries. Their biggest target in the Middle East? Iraq.
We should take an innovative approach and jointly build an economic belt along the Silk Road.
Why is China building billion-dollar bridges and power plants in the very region where the Bible says the final conflict will ignite? Is this just trade, or is it the construction of a military corridor for the kings of the East? But the next move in this divine countdown is not just about armies or roads. It's about control over the very lifeblood of global commerce, money itself. In 2026, China's ambitions extend beyond physical might, reaching into the digital realm to assert its influence over every transaction and every citizen. But the king does not just rule with steel or currency. In 2026, China launched Digital Yuan 2.0. This isn't just a currency, it's a tool of total surveillance, linked to a social credit system that now monitors moral conformity. The state has created a system where your trustworthiness determines your survival. Think about the prophecy of a one-world system, a global architecture where no one can buy or sell without permission. While the world waits for this to emerge, the blueprint is already live in China. With nearly 100 million CCP members officially forbidden from religious belief, the state has positioned itself as the ultimate authority. They have the army, They have the Silk Roads. They have the technology to enforce total allegiance. But as powerful as the dragon is, the Bible says the kings are plural. To find the second giant, we must look further south, to a nation that is younger, faster, and currently holding the balance of global power in its hands. If China is the industrial dragon of prophecy, India is the rising tiger, vibrant, unpredictable, and increasingly central to the global stage. For years, prophecy teachers focused on the red menace to the north. But in 2026, the world has a new most populous nation. While China's population is shrinking and aging, India is experiencing a demographic explosion. With a median age of just 29.8 years, India is nearly a dozen years younger than China. This is the demographic dividend, a massive tech-savvy workforce that is propelling the nation toward its 2047 vision of Viksit Bharat, or a developed India. In the context of Revelation, this sheer human mass cannot be ignored. If a 200 million-man army is to be raised from the east, India's youth are the primary pool of recruitment. Currently, India has more than 1.4 million active personnel, excluding reserved and paramilitary troops. But unlike China's atheistic state, India is a land of profound ancient spirituality. This creates a friction point. Will India align with a secular Eastern Bloc, or will it forge a path as a Vishwa Bandhu, a friend to the world? The Indian government has set a bold target, a $30 trillion economy by 2047. We are seeing the Gati Shakti, the power of speed, in action. Thousands of miles of highways and massive new Vande Bharat high-speed trains are weaving the subcontinent together. Is India truly one of the kings of the East, or is its role different? India's civilizational ethos is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. This often puts India at odds with the more aggressive expansionist philosophies of its neighbors. Yet in 2026, we see a thaw in the long-standing rivalry between the dragon and the tiger. Both nations are backing each other's leadership in the BRICS bloc. They are united by a common goal: to end the dominance of the Western dollar. If India joins this Eastern alignment fully, the power shift will be absolute. The way of the kings would no longer be a theoretical path. It would be a geopolitical certainty. Is India's rise a sign that the East is finally ready to march toward its prophetic destiny? Or is India the swing state that might yet hold back the tides of Armageddon? For decades, giants of prophecy like John Hagee pointed to a specific triad: China, Japan, and North Korea. In the 20th century, this made sense. But as we navigate 2026, many scholars are asking if that map is incomplete. To reach the 200 million army, the math is simple. Japan's population is shrinking. North Korea is isolated, but India is now the most populous nation on Earth. Without India's massive youth population, the kings of the East would lack the human weight John described. We are not dismissing John Hagee's prophecy, we are updating it. If the kings are coming from the sun rising, can we ignore the nation that now leads the East in demographics? For decades, geopolitical experts said it was impossible. India and China, the two titans of Asia, were considered permanent rivals, locked in a cold war over mountain borders and regional influence. But in 2026, the impossible is becoming inevitable. A great recalibration is underway, and it is being forced by a hand from the West. The prophecy of the kings of the East requires a unified front. But what could bridge the gap between such fierce competitors? The answer arrived in late 2025. Following the United States-India trade crisis, the Trump administration imposed a staggering 50% tariff on Indian exports, the highest in modern history, citing India's continued purchase of Russian oil. This Western isolationism has done what centuries of diplomacy could not. it has pushed India back toward its neighbors. In March 2026, under its BRICS presidency, India pivoted. The message from New Delhi and Beijing is now clear. To survive a volatile West, the East must stand together. The bridge isn't just political, it's technological. As India hosts the 2026 BRICS summit, the headline isn't just about trade, it's about the BRICS CBDC bridge. This is a digital highway that bypasses the US dollar entirely. While the world was distracted, the kings of the East built their own financial fortress. As of early 2026, the mBridge platform has processed over 55 billion in trade, 95% of it in digital yuan and rupees. The way of the kings is being paved with digital code, ensuring that when the time comes to march, no Western sanction can stop their advance. For the first time in 6 years, border trade has resumed at the Lipulekh Pass. The very mountains that once saw skirmishes are now seeing the return of merchant caravans and fiber-optic cables. This isn't just fence mending. It is a strategic alignment against a perceived Western decline. Bible prophecy speaks of a coalition that will eventually cross the dry Euphrates. As we watch India and China, nations that represent 35% of the global population, link their economies and their digital IDs, we have to ask, is this the Eastern Bloc that will finally challenge the global order? The West thought it could use trade wars to maintain its grip. Instead, it may have inadvertently prepared the way for the very kings it was meant to contain. Behold, I come as a thief. Are you prepared for a moment that could change everything when the world least expects it? If you're searching for meaning in the chaos, you need to pay attention to what's unfolding right now. This isn't just ancient prophecy, it's a warning for our generation. We have walked through the parched bed of the Euphrates. We have seen the industrial fire of the dragon and the demographic surge of the tiger. We have peered into the digital cage being built with silicon and code, but the ultimate question remains, is this just the shifting tide of history, or is it the closing of the age? Bible prophecy was never intended to be a crystal ball for the curious. It is a mirror for the soul and a roadmap for the faithful. When John saw the kings of the East, he wasn't just recording a political forecast. He was recording the final alignment of a world that has decided to walk its own path. The drying of the Euphrates is the signal. The rise of the East is the preparation. The sixth bowl is being poured out, and the barrier is gone. In the same chapter where the kings begin their march, the King of Kings gives a startling warning, "Behold, I come as a thief." It is a call to spiritual readiness in an age of digital distraction. As we look at India and China today, we see two giants at a crossroads. One is an industrial behemoth with a state-as-God philosophy. The other is a spiritual powerhouse trying to find its place in a fractured world. I want to ask you, the viewer, a question that gets to the heart of this mystery. Do you believe India and China are destined to be the kings who march toward Armageddon? Or is one of these nations meant to be a roadblock to the system of the beast? This channel has always been a place for deep thinkers and seekers. Our comment sections are often more insightful than the videos themselves, and I suspect this topic will spark another legendary debate. Do you see the drying Euphrates as a literal sign or a symbol of Western decline? Is India's 2047 vision compatible with the prophetic timeline? And most importantly, are you ready for what comes next? Share your perspective below. Tell us if you see the kings of the East as a threat to be feared or a sign that our redemption is drawing near. If this deep dive helped you connect the dots between the headlines and the word, subscribe to the Watchman's Report and hit the bell. The river is dry. The kings are rising. The stage is set. Until next time, keep watching.